For this video, I asked ChatGPT myself if it were dangerous to use too much of its help. And what should I say? I'm not surprised by its answer. This video is all about artificial intelligence. And one central question: is it truly intelligent? So is it fair to call it an artificial intelligence? Or should we maybe call it something else? And for that video, I had a conversation with ChatGPT, and it was very enlightening. If you have never used ChatGPT yourself, I do recommend you do it right now or after this video. Go to chat.openai.com and start a conversation, and I can guarantee you will be amazed. If you don't use ChatGPT, you can also try other generative artificial intelligences like Midjourney that creates images, or Leonardo, which is also creating images, but I think it's for free. And what they do is truly amazing, because up to this point, we're probably used to talking to chatbots for customer service purposes, or we're used to talking to search engines, and I think sometimes we feel a bit misunderstood. And I can guarantee you this doesn't happen when you talk to something like ChatGPT. On the contrary, something like ChatGPT will write you complete essays. It will write you scripts for videos. I have done that in the past already. Hell, for this video, I even asked your best friend ChatGPT how I could write this letter. Great advice, by the way, ChatGPT. This should be personal. I tried to ask ChatGPT to write me a whole script for a video. By the way, this script I made myself. But the reason why I'm making this video is because I have one central question. Is it fair to call something like a generative large language model truly an artificial intelligence? And is what's happening there truly intelligent? And also, what are the dangers if we start maybe overusing something like ChatGPT or other models? And what will happen to our own human intelligence if we do so? And like I said in the beginning, I asked ChatGPT itself about it, and I wasn't surprised. First of all, before we jump into the tech stuff, I want to tell you a short anecdote, because I've been a tutor for as long as I can remember. I started tutoring when I was 12, and I was always amazed by how people learn and how they become truly intelligent. And without trying to define intelligence, for me, it always meant that if I'm working together with people, at some point their questions will become better. And the better their questions were, the less they needed my help in tutoring. For me, that's a very simple concept, because if you have very good questions, you can get your information almost anywhere, and you can kind of steer where your information comes from and what bits of information you need. Let me give you an easy example. Right now I'm working together with somebody who wants to shoot videos. Cool. And then they asked me, what lens should I use? Then I asked back, what do you actually want to do? And then they said, I want to shoot video clips. And here's the point. This, of course, isn't very precise. So what advice should I possibly give you if I don't exactly know what it is that you are seeking? So if this person already said, I want to shoot video clips with people in the foreground and maybe huge space in the background and it's bright and whatever. The point is that if you are gaining more expertise in a certain field, you will be able to ask better questions. And this is always something that during the years that I was doing tutoring, I found out for myself. As soon as somebody was asking better questions, my job was done. Now, what does somebody like ChatGPT say about true intelligence? The definition of true intelligence is a complex and subjective concept that has been debated by philosophers, scientists, and researchers for centuries. While there's no universally agreed upon definition, intelligence generally refers to the ability to acquire, process, understand, and apply knowledge and skills to solve problems, reason, learn from experience, adapt to new situations, and so forth. And then it categorizes true intelligence into 4 general aspects. And that all is very clear and makes sense, of course. And then I decided I asked ChatGPT another question in that context. Are you, by that definition, truly intelligent? And then, of course, ChatGPT says it is an AI language model and it possesses certain aspects of intelligence, particularly in the realm of language processing and knowledge retrieval. And it says a whole lot more. I will also give you the transcript of this conversation. And the most important thing it said at the end: while I can provide intelligent responses based on the information I've been trained on, I do not possess true human level intelligence or consciousness. My responses are generated based on patterns and examples from the data I've been trained on, rather than genuine understanding or subjective experiences. And I think that right here is the crucial point that we need to be aware of when we talk about something like generative large language models. The things that they can do, and some critics have said that they are right now not a lot more than very, very intelligent parrots, because what they can do is they can sound extremely intelligent. And in fact, they do. I mean, if you read that, somebody who's truly intelligent could have written that. There's no flaws in the text. But of course, there is a huge difference between what a generative large language model can do to what a human being is able to do. As it says here itself, human intelligence encompasses a wide range of cognitive abilities: emotional intelligence, consciousness, self-awareness, and a deep understanding of the world that extends beyond language processing. When it says that, I think we need to talk about how a generative large language model actually gets trained. And I did also ask ChatGPT itself. And the way that a model like ChatGPT learns isn't so different to how humans actually learn. It's only the amount of data it can churn through in a short amount of time is entirely different to how fast a human being can learn. So let's look at how ChatGPT actually learns. It uses a method called unsupervised learning. What does it mean? And I'm not gonna go into the very details, but what is important to know is that it's basically a statistical model. It will get all the text that is available online, everything. And then it will go through all the data, and then it is trained on so-called sequences. So it gets a sequence of words and will then predict the next word. And if it predicts it correctly, it will be told so, and if it's wrong, it will be also told so. And in fact, that isn't so different from how humans learn. Let me give you an example of why I actually had the idea also for this video, because I was at a playground with my son yesterday. As I was pouring sand into a toy, the dust was coming up because it's very dry at the moment where we are. And he immediately said, "Oh, that's hot." Because the dust very much looks like steam. And something like steam, of course, is hot, and he's used to experiences with steam because he's seen his food steaming when it's very hot. He's seen other things steaming when they were hot, so he made that connection and he said immediately, "Oh, that's hot." And then I said, "Oh no, it's just the sand. It's just the dust from the sand." And that's pretty much the same way how an artificial intelligence, a generative large language model, learns. It will say, "Oh, that's hot." And then it will be told, "No, actually it's not hot. It's just dry and dusty." So while it's really cool to use the help of something like ChatGPT, I was somehow weary of what the dangers were. Because, as you know from my past, when people weren't able to ask precise questions, they'll always be dependent on everybody around them, because they will not think for themselves. They will always rely on others giving them information, and that is always very dangerous for both the people themselves and also for societies and democracies. That's why I thought I'd ask ChatGPT myself if there were any dangers to the development of human intelligence if people overused something like ChatGPT. So this is what I asked. Do you see a potential danger of people not becoming more intelligent because they use the help of AI language models and hence don't try to figure out problems by themselves? ChatGPT's answer: the increased use of AI language models like myself does raise certain concerns and considerations regarding the potential impact on human intelligence and problem-solving abilities. And the point it raises here is that it might discourage individuals from engaging in critical thinking, independent research, and personal problem solving. And that's exactly the point I'm trying to make here. Imagine if at some point in the not so distant future, people even overuse their digital technology more than they do today, because they do so heavily rely on everything that they do on something like ChatGPT or other generative large language models. So that's the first point that ChatGPT even mentions itself, the dependency on AI. And what's even more important here is the narrow knowledge focus. Something like ChatGPT is trained on everything that is available online. However, not everything that is available online is true. It already has a bias given the people that have created it. And that is a huge problem, because the majority of stuff that is online, well, is not necessarily what is there in reality. It is a very strong focus, especially on white male people. And I think what's even more important is that a generative large language model is specialized in understanding and predicting language, but it has a lack of deep understanding because it doesn't really know what this is, what it's talking about. It only knows the language and can predict the language. So it's extremely good at making you feel like it's intelligent, but it isn't truly intelligent itself. That's a huge difference. Just another example here from my son. He's not even 2 years old, and lying in the bed recently, he was taking his hand, looking through his fingers, and he was like taking a photo. And this is something that requires an understanding of what's happening there, because he sees that, of course, when we're snapping images, when we're taking photos. But to understand that, you need to know more about the whole process than what is in fact in the image. So that is a huge difference. For this video, I asked ChatGPT a lot more questions, one of them being, how far away from being a truly general AI do you think you are? But I'm not going into detail into this now in that video. You will be able to read that here in the description. To sum this all up, I'm not against using something like generative large language models, because they can do so many things right now that are super helpful and super simple. What I want to do is I want to raise my voice and I want to raise concerns that it doesn't make sense to call this truly intelligent and to give something like a generative large language model too many jobs. Instead, I do want to urge you that we find a way to foster human intelligence. And when I say intelligence, I don't mean what we do in schools. I don't mean what we can test by tests. I mean that we need a conversation about what is true intelligence and how we can foster that in the future. And for me, true intelligence has a lot more to do with the body, with the whole organism, than it does with just the brain. So true intelligence isn't only, and ChatGPT even knows this, isn't only about cognitive abilities. True intelligence is a lot about emotional abilities, our emotional capabilities, how we interact with each other, how we see and understand the world. And this is why I think it's so important that we use the momentum this whole topic has to also get into that conversation. And I hope you'll join me.